I'd like to welcome you all to the Board of Education meeting. It's a little bit different than our normal order of things because tonight we have a public hearing for our Smart Schools Bond Act. So we will do our normal pledge, but it's a little bit later in the meeting because it's not part of the public hearing. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Ms. Irena Gershman, our Executive Director for Planning, Development, and Technology, who's going to give us an overview of Phase 2 Smart Schools Bond Act.
All right, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So to bring everybody up to speed, Smart Schools Bond Act is money that was authorized through general obligation bonds to finance educational technology in public schools to improve learning and opportunities throughout the state. So that's the general mission of the Smart Schools Bond Act. The first submission that we made, or first of all, let me tell you that we were allocated $4 million overall for our whole project. And we can break that down and do as many submissions as we want. Okay, so these are the categories that you can apply for funding for. So this gives you all the categories that we can look at. In February of 2017, we submitted our first application, and that was focused on our one-to-one initiative. Right? So everything in that first application went to support the Chromebooks and the carts and everything that went with it, the warranties and the licensing for Google and all of that. That went in February 2017, and it was for $1.4 million. All right, submission number 2 is all about our presentation devices in classrooms. Our smart boards are starting to age out, and we wanted something new and updated that had more interactivity and more possibilities. So we began a search for new interactive panels. So in 2018, I attended ISTE, which is a giant national technology conference, and I visited every vendor on the floor that sold interactive panels. Then I came back and I sent inquiries out to my colleagues and I said, what are you guys using? And what are the pros and cons? Do you like them or not? Then I sent inquiries out to vendors, asking them about their products. Then we narrowed the field to 3 possibilities. We looked at ViewSonic, we looked at Promethean, and we looked at ClearTouch. We set up demonstrations and trial periods across the district. We invited teachers in to look at demos. We bought one ClearTouch, we brought in a ViewSonic, we had a Promethean here, and people were able to play with these devices. Then we surveyed the staff as to what they liked. Everybody that came to the demos, and I sent out videos and said, watch these videos. We surveyed the staff, then we set up tech meetings with my staff. So I wanted to get some education behind the scenes. How much work is it to maintain these devices? Is everything we have compatible with these devices, and so on? Then we saw quotes, and then finally the district technology team made a decision, and we decided on the ClearTouch panel. From there, I had to prep the Smart Bond application, and in order to do that, I had to put out a public announcement, leave it in the papers for 30 days, put my presentation on the website, and then hold a public hearing where I would explain the Smart Bond application. Okay, any questions so far? And I have such a giant audience because y'all came to watch this. We never have an audience. All right, so we decided on the ClearTouch 6000K series, just some specs up there for you to look at. Along with the boards themselves, we want to get webcams and handheld keypads, which Patrick Ladd is going to demonstrate for you in a few minutes. The webcam, we want to be able to capture lessons so that we can post those online for kids who are absent or who have to miss a class, so we can record the lessons and post those. We also want to get document cameras, so I put into the application 50 wireless document cameras. LED displays for spaces that do not need interactivity. So we have a lot of places where we need digital signage, or conference rooms where we don't necessarily need interactivity, but we do need to be able to display agendas and data for meetings. So I put some of those into the application. We also need some new teacher presentation machines, some PCs and monitors to be able to hook these to. Laptops, we're having more and more demand for laptops by our administrators and our social worker assistants, our counselors who are traveling from building to building. They need a portable device. And then the buildings have asked me for digital signage, large digital signage. I can't afford large digital signage for each building. Those things are very, very expensive. So I found a smaller digital signage piece that's portable for them, and I've written that into this application. So I'm actually going to skip this right now and come back to it. These are pictures of some of the devices that we've written in. This is the document camera that I'm talking about. This is the handheld keyboard. So this makes a teacher portable, so you can carry that keyboard around. It's got a tracking pad on it, and they teach from anywhere in the classroom. They're not tied to their computer. Up top, this is the webcam, and this is the portable digital signage, which is weather resistant. You can plug a USB into it, load your message, whatever you want, and then you can park it out in front of your building, rain or snow, doesn't matter, and then you just bring it back in. You're done. You can change that message. All right, this is the actual budget. As you can see, my math isn't very good. In two places that didn't calculate properly coming across, so I corrected those. So this application is for $1.6 million, which leaves me about, I'll tell you what the balance is going to be. The balance will be $939,000 when I'm done. So I have the ability to put in one more application after this. All right, I'm going to go back to the slide about the smart, or the clear touch. So these were some of the things that we liked about clear touch, but this is not going to mean anything. So I've asked Patrick Ladd, who has had this clear touch in his classroom since March. And so he's been able to learn this board and some of the software pieces that go along with it. He is a social studies teacher in our middle school. So I'm going to let Patrick demo this board for you. So while he's getting ready, I'm just going to pass this around. I don't have enough for everybody, they're just for you to look at. It's a 40-inch screen, so it stands about this high and about this wide.
Well, that's actually what I was going to start with. The keyboard that she was referring to, that's in my room, it's one of those things that, you know, I know a lot of times people look at it and they say, well, this is pretty, you know, it's about convenience and being, you know, maybe like, oh, they don't want necessarily be stuck in the board. But it's really important when it comes to classroom management because proximity for a teacher is everything. I don't want to have to stop my class every time a student's talking, so typically just proximity, you walk by them, they typically get the, you know, I mean, you can still continue to teach. And it's one of those things that for me has really been instrumental, you know, basically giving me so I don't have to be tied to the front of the room. I can walk around, I can talk to the kids, if they're doing something, I can stop and help the kid. So it's been really instrumental in advancing this. I used this for a short period of time without it, got it, and then I've just been in love with it ever since. It basically has everything on it. It has all the keys, like a keyboard board. It's not even like it's, I mean, you can basically use it for directions. It also has a mouse pad on it, so if I want to, So if I want to, if I'm in the back of the room, I can actually just sit there and move that down. And then treat it just like a normal and click on it and everything. So it's a pretty useful tool to use with this. The camera is as well. One of the things that Irena had mentioned was the ability, having the camera on, is to basically do screen captures of your lessons. And what's nice is, I remember when I first got the camera in my room, and it's like, well, I can't post things with other kids in the room. I don't want to do that, so I can't. What's really nice is, here's an example of one that I did record. I was talking about the lawmaking process, and just kind of going through, like, I mean, and this is, it's extensive. And it's one of those things where if a kid was absent, you have them come in, or I mean, you can post it and have them look at it, you know, later on at night or during a free time.
Okay, so we're going to go through this whole.
And so basically what I was doing is giving them a scenario of Bill actually making it through, going from proposal and all the way through to different committees in Congress, and then all the way up basically, you know, through the other house and then up to the president. So it really helps. I mean, through the years, you know, technology has really gotten so much better. And what I've noticed is things like this really help kids, these visuals. With so many of them being visual learners, it really does help to actually see it in play. I mean, I've always kind of used the scenario, but having it where there's pictures and you're able to get to a point where you're drawing on it.
And about 50 pounds less, all right? So now what happens?
So I can actually draw on it and it records it. So, and I, you know, put arrows in so kids can see and stuff like that. So, as I'm walking around, it's been very useful with even some of the old smartboard technology. You know, there's a lot of things as teachers, we did a lot of stuff on smartboard. And so this has been very convenient. A lot of our, you know, with the smart notebook software still on there, we can still use a lot of the things that we've been doing. So that's been very beneficial. It works even with some of the things that like we do with, like if we're doing simpler programs like PowerPoint, I can be in the back of the room talking to the kids and I can scroll through and actually sit there and have them, you know, be able to interact with them more individually than be up by the board, having to tap it every time and stuff like that. So that's been convenient as well. I know this is going to sound a little silly, but the best thing that I really love about this is the colorization and the graphics. Being LED, the smart boards, every time we used to do mapping activities, red and orange just look the same. So it always ended up like, there's always, okay guys, this is orange or this is red, you know. Now they can see what's red and what is orange. So the saturation is, you know, I mean, is not really there between the red and then orange and other colors that are similar. So that's been beneficial. Some of the programs that comes with the Clear Touch that is from the company. The first one that we find is just your simple quick access tools. You can do where you can, you know, use note, and a lot of different subject areas can actually use this. There's a lot of math stuff. There's a lot of, like, you know, for music, you just basically put up there, you know, you can start drawing your notes, you know, making your, basically what you want to do. And the other thing that I really love about this, and it doesn't matter whether you're using the Note or one of the other programs, Canvas, which is part of the Snowflake. The Snowflake is the software that they have running with this. What's really nice about it is you can just hit save PDF file and boom. I can't tell you how many times I was in the room where, you know, I got butcher block paper, the kids are working together at their tables, and it's like, okay, now, like, they don't have access to all the information that they shared as a class or shared as a table. You don't have access to that at home. Now, we can sit there and do various things. I hit save as PDF, and I upload it into Schoology, and it's there. So all their work during the day, they have access back to that all throughout the rest of that unit. So it's been like really, really advantageous in that manner. I'm going to go to so the Snowflake software, when it loads up, and how am I doing on time? Okay, so there's a lot of different things, and you know, there's this, like I actually wrote a ton more things, I just don't think we really have time. But I do want to show you that for some of them, basically what they do is there's a lot of different things that you can have access to, and you can kind of tailor this to what you want to do. And so some of these things that they have, like I'll actually show the math one first here. On favorites. So a lot of these games and activities are interactive. You can put them so that, you know, so multiples of 10. So you tap the multiples of 10, and, you know, so it's like, okay, but you can tailor a lot of these things, like there's graph papers, so those who are doing, you know, graphing in your math class, they have access to that, but it's, I mean, it's basically where it's going to be getting used the most is when we go to, I use, you know, some of the geography pieces, so you can do jigsaw puzzles, get them so that they work on it, that, you know, some of it's like placing the areas into the map. Music, I mean, you can have access to the piano, drums, and you can, like if you're a music teacher, you're teaching piano, you can show the kids, you can record what you just did in front of the class, and they can do it again. So the one thing that is really great most about this is that now a lot of the bass is phenomenal because it'll go up and down, and throughout the day or depending on the lesson, you know, sometimes you want, like for me, I want to kind of hear so everyone can see the kid who's in back and look over and be able to sit there and see the, you know, the screen. But if I'm going to have kids interacting with the board, I need it low. So what I end up doing is, and I was going to see if we have 4 volunteers on the board here if they want to come up and actually interact with it. But there's various things like, you know, they have where you can have one kid up in this corner doing one thing, one kid down here doing something different. So you can put 4 different activities on.
So essentially, it's like 4 or more.
It is like 4 boards in one. And what's really nice, actually, I wanted to kind of, one of the other really nice things about it is, so as a teacher, the YouTube, by the way, as they showed us, it comes in so you don't, like a lot of times if you've been on YouTube, they have the ads, and sometimes they have like your recently played list. You can tailor this so that you don't have to worry about that stuff happening. Like, you know, because a lot of times there's things that can pop up on YouTube that you don't want them to. So ads especially, and things like this. So this is what's really convenient about that. But this is one of the other like kind of whiteboard software. So, you know, I could literally be doing this over here while someone's up here. It's got 20 points of touch. So literally you could have 20 fingers on it at the same time and it will work. And what's really, really nice about that is when I had the smart board, kids had to come up at, like when we did class share outs, they went one at a time. Okay, because it was 1 point of touch. But now they got 4 points of touch. And, or 20 points of touch. But I mean, you know, so they can, I've had kids when they've shared out, they can literally, I've had kids writing at the same time on the board. You know what I mean, like 4 or 5 kids. I mean, you can't really get more than 4 or 5, but it's very, very convenient to have. So, and I know some of the other models they have where the base comes down and it actually turns into a table. So you can have kids in this corner, kids in that corner, kids in that corner, and like that. So, and you know, the one thing I do have to pro about as a teacher, and I know this is not necessarily financial feasibility, but the onboard computer, having it standalone and not connected, it is monumental. It truly is an amazing thing to have that onboard computer.
Any questions for Patrick? You want to play?
Well, Logan can actually speak to how many times we used to do things where it was like one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was the learning
Those were
curve
fun.
to use it?
We had, like at first, I had a little bit of difficulty, like I kept crashing, and Dean and Irina were phenomenal with it, just like really on top of it. You know, they really helped. And so, I mean, it was like one of those things where it took a little while. And I'm still, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I just talked about what I've learned, what I've done, and there's so much more. The new tech who runs it, they've got tons and tons and tons of YouTube videos. And I mean, it's just a, like, it's just an actual warehouse of them. And there's just, you know, I mean, so I'm finding that I'm learning new things all the time. So I think there's even more things that I could probably sit there and come back in a year and tell you even more, you know, so.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So, thank you, Patrick. That was awesome. And don't let Sarah watch you do that. She'll steal you from us. A couple of things I want to mention as Patrick was presenting. Casting. This allows kids and teachers to cast back and forth from the Chromebook. So the teacher can cast what they're doing to every Chromebook in the classroom. And then students, up to 4 students, can cast to the board in those quadrants, right? So a teacher might be walking around and say, that's an interesting way you solve that problem. I want you to cast that up there. That's interesting. Cast that up there. I want to see what that looks like. The teacher can control it because the teacher has to give permission. So the kid casts, little thing comes up there and says, yep, allow that to come through, because you can just imagine what they might try to cast. So the teacher controls who's casting to the board. All right?
So if you got a math teacher and they see this, wow, the way that they had answered a question, class, let's take a look at this, boom.
They throw their work up there from their Chromebook, and everybody can see it. And that can all be then captured, as Patrick said, in a PDF and kept and shared with all kids. So anything that goes to that board can be captured at any time. All right? The other thing is 6 of the boards that we want to purchase, or I should say the stands, we're buying all mobile stands, because that was one thing that teachers made very clear. If you fix it to the wall and we can't move it, it's no good. It's got to move up and down. So we're going to spend the money. So both on the mobile ones and the ones that are mounted on the wall, they're going to be adjustable. You know, you can just imagine a pre-K teacher trying to work on theirs. They want to bring it up and then put it down. The other thing is each building is going to get one stand that allows the board to lay down flat as a tabletop. So kids can work collaboratively around the tabletop instead of upright like a board. So we're going to buy one for each building, put those in the library, they can be signed out.
Is the board different, or is it just the
Same board, different stand. Yeah. Allows for a different type of collaboration. All right? That is Gorilla Glass. They're not going to break that. They've done a lot of work on the sensitivity of the glass. The first models of these, anybody with jewelry, long sleeves, you drag that across and catches it. It doesn't do that anymore. It's pretty good about only catching everything with your stylus or your fingertips. The other thing about this is the multiple color thing that Patrick mentioned. Believe it or not, that did turn out to be huge to teachers, because the Promethean will not allow multiple colors at the same time. So somebody picks red, these are all going to be red. If somebody picks blue, they all have to be blue. But this one allows for that multicolor. We can be working in multiple colors at the same time. And then the last thing I want to mention is the professional development. So in anticipation of this happening, I just purchased 6 more of these boards because I want to do a train-the-trainer. So we'll have to wait for this application to go through state ed. It takes a long time. But when it's approved, I won't be ready, right? I don't want to be starting again. So I just purchased 6 more of these boards, and I've identified people who I want to be trainers, and then we're going to start that training this spring. So when those boards come, we'll be ready to hit the ground running. Any questions?
You go to the list of
Items?
items. And while you're doing that, is the professional development or with the support needed to roll it out? I assume the Smart Schools bond is only for hardware, so it's not going to allow that to be part of this.
Correct. Correct. This one?
Yeah.
So you want to run through it?
Well, you can. My question was, so Mr. Ladd mentioned the onboard computer is the assumption, because I see 600 desktops, so
Right.
what's the
We
cost
were
difference?
not going to do the onboard computers, except for the ones that had to be mobile. So the 6 with the tabletops, the ones I just bought have onboard computers. But as I did my research in these, they're nice, but a desktop, having the board tied to a desktop is more stable.
So what does that do? Because you mentioned every classroom's going to be on a mobile stand.
No, every classroom will be mounted. Those ones I just bought for the trainer will be mobile. And the ones in the library that go with the table. And they'll all have onboard computers. Anything that's mobile will have an onboard computer. Anything that's mounted to a wall will not have an onboard computer.
Oh, so when you said it can be talked up and down, in the right
In the
class
classroom,
further mounted?
correct.
Oh, okay, I was thinking. they were-
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Xbox controller, whatever that little unit is.
And that's what it looks like.
Yeah, how durable is that? And do they sell like an OtterBox case projector?
Right. Luckily, they're not that expensive. So that device is not that expensive, and I don't mind replacing them. And we'll have a replacement. And I'm ordering more than I need, so I have what?
I'm just reading $52.89 a piece.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, yeah, they're very lightweight, and no, they don't, I haven't seen anything with a case. The interesting thing, maybe.
So one other quick thing, so years ago, the replacement plan here for devices, well, we didn't have devices, but for computers was like 15 years. It was long. So the fact that we moved to Chromebooks, we're able to obviously afford much quicker. So I'm thinking for the next submission, how many years now, I'm trying to do the math in my head that we rolled out the Chromebooks in that first wave of Chromebooks.
So, for all intents and purposes, we rolled out Chromebooks 2 years ago, January. So, and they'll probably age out in another 2 years. So I've already bought a couple of replacement batches for them, and I have a little more money in that first application that I can continue to spend that money to replace Chromebooks. So we're all good for Chromebooks for a while. This one, these, obviously, 600 computers is a lot more than I have classrooms, because I want some backup machines, and I want to replace some for management, some of our offices. So we'll have some of those. Any other questions?
Right.
Yes.
What will be the intent or purpose of the 6 portable units after training?
They will be in the library for sign out for things just like this. So there's a lot of places where people have workshops, conferences. We're in here, the little art lecture hall, in a cafeteria, like a middle school, we'll be able to wheel those in. So we wanted to have some flexibility and have those things available. Then I've also seen, when I was doing my research, I've seen classrooms with 2 boards. So the teacher decides they want to do a big project-based learning thing, and they're going to use this one, then they want to bring the tabletop into their room at the same time, so they can have that much more going on together.
Can you double check the math on that?
Again?
Yep,
Which one?
50,000.
This one? I will.
Should be right.
Oh, I've got 1 extra 0 in there.
Oh, I see,
Yeah,
yeah. Details.
That's on the wrong place.
The 15 is right.
All right.
Can I put Mr. Ladd on the spot?
Absolutely. Where'd it go?
Sure.
Sorry, but it's great to have like real feedback that you've been using it. So you had this unit or a mobile unit, right?
This one. This area.
This is the unit that I have in my classroom.
So how less excited would you be if it was mounted on the wall?
I would be less excited.
Your honest opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
because right now, I was able to shift my room and to where it was, you know what I mean, to be able to shift it. I like to use my whiteboard too, and like, yes, our Friday, I did an activity where kids actually had to write on the whiteboard. I wanted more space, so I was able to shift that away from the whiteboard, have that still for the, you know, the do now and to get started. And then when we moved from one part of the activity to the other, I was able to use all the whiteboard. And what I wanted up there where the whiteboard is, because that's where, you know, I mean, I've had rooms where they're a lot deeper, and now it's with them, you know, I mean, I can shift it so it's towards the wide and they're closer to the actual board. So that's why I would be disappointed, but I would just be happy having that in the classroom. So, you know, beggars can't be choosers.
So all of our classrooms are configured very differently, right? One of the things that people don't like is this trip hazard, right? When kids are working and teachers are teaching.
Sure.
So we have mobile stands that people can use if they want them, but most everything will be mounted. And we had a lot of conversation about that, about how we want to do that.
What's the delta between the two? The portable and the wall mounted? $1,500?
Yeah.
That $1,500 is for the stand and the computer?
Yeah. No. So an adjustable wall mount costs $839, but the motorized stand is $1,900.
But that doesn't include the computer that's on the back.
Yeah, that's not, that's just the stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my challenge in all of this, I gotta get Dowler off her screen and onto an interactive webcam. So come back to me in a year and we'll see how far I've come. Yeah, good luck. Did you hear that, Lynn? Tom says good luck.
I'll get you that over a projector, it's like $35. I'll be in your room tomorrow.
And you're good with the life cycle of these meetings? There were a number of years where schools invested in smart boards and they were already weren't being supported by the government.
Right, these are supposed to last us 12 to 15 years.
And there's really not support. Well, there is some native software, right? It's on the computer. Or is
We
it
don't have to buy any additional software. Everything, Snowflake is available. There's thousands of teacher lesson plans that they can already grab in here. That's all free. So,
How is this support system?
excellent. So you
So
heard.
that really comes down to it. I mean, you can give the teacher that if they don't have the support from it. That's more of
Right, so you heard Patrick say in the beginning, we were having some difficulty, just, you know, new board, new learning curve for my tech team. And we called them and they had this giant conference call, we got out of Switzerland, we had the company, we had the
But
vendor.
you haven't had any issues with turnaround of getting back.
No. Anything else?
How are these as far as upgradability to keep up with changing times? I mean, is this,
The software, every upgrade to the software is free. So whenever they do it, we get it. The thing that they don't have, well, they have available, but it's clunky and we weren't gonna do it, but we want to do it. And I can't remember the name of it, but it allows us to send alerts throughout the building on these boards. For example, if we're having a lockdown, we could send a message to every board that scrolls across here, you know, middle school in lockdown, so every teacher knows that. So that's one of the places we want to get to with this, this board. This one is a 75-incher. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's supposed to be quite prominent. That's what they told me. Red scrolling letters, you know, for the message. In terms of size, we went with a 75-inch for every classroom, which is far bigger than most of the smart boards they have. So we went with a large board.
Yeah, so it is a public hearing, so if anyone in the audience has questions or comments, I don't know how
Want to
you
know more
can see
about
anything that's done. Comments? Thank you, Raymond. With that, I make a motion that we close the public hearing. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Thank you, it's unanimous. Thank you, Raymond, great presentation.
Thank you,
Thank you,
and thank
Mr.
you for your
Ladd,
support.
very helpful. All right, at this time, I'd like to ask everyone to stand and join us in our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda with one change, which is taking the presentation to the board by some fantastic students. Make that first thing on the list. Everything else remain the same. Second by Mr. McCarthy. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. And with that,
Great.
Chris, over to you.
All right, let's go. We got little kids who haven't eaten dinner yet. Little
I was
kids
feeling
who need to
pressure.
go home and go to bed. And I know we have cake, but we gotta go home.
The superintendent says there's no such thing as late homework if you're here tonight, so you're fine.
Yeah, wait, there you go.
Okay. All right. So this is our annual, we appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do for the art department board meeting. I do just want to click through this because there are some little bitties that do need to go home. So, our elementary art teachers are here. I just wanted to thank them. Katie Wood, who is at A. Cole and Hastings Mallory, is here. Lindsay Stearley, who's at Brewerton and Hastings, is here. Mike Shahani, who is at CSI and Miller Park, is here. Tiffany Bergman, who's at the high school, is here. So I wanted to thank them for coming and staying later than they probably want to. So this little cutie, who's Nana, is Nancy Tomeno. Kylie Tomeno has some beautiful note cards from Mrs. Bishop. So come on up, Kylie. There we go. They're adorable. Wait till you see them. And now you're going to get a picture taken. Smile at Mrs. Bishop. There we go. Adorable. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So Emily Krause is a 5th grader at Hastings Mallory. Come on up. And she has some nice cards from the lunch. Great. Jason Archie is a kindergartner at Hastings Mallory. He's been very patient with his little sister. He has no cards for Mrs. Wood. Here she goes. You do? I do. I volunteer in his classroom. How See you later. And then Reese Hayden, who's a 3rd grader at Brewerton, she has some note cards for Mr. Pat. I told her you were all right. I had your kids in school. Absolutely. Michaela Smolnick is famous. She's a 5th grader in the CSI, Miller Hawk, whatever we're calling it right now. She has some note cards from Mrs. McCarthy. She was worried she'd have to make a speech.
Just a presentation on the newsletter.
She was going to run the thing with Pat Webb. We've got 2 great middle school, 8th grade girls here that are Phil Williams and Olivia Domikowski. Has beautiful prints for Mrs. Nickerson. photograph for Mrs. Sunday. Wait till you see this. Show 'em. Ooh. Ah. Nice. That's right. Last but not least, Harrison John is here. He's also a senior here at Moore, and he has a photograph for Mr. Longi. We got it. I never thought of it. Here we go.
Thank you, Mrs. Stats. Thank you to everyone. I'm sure I speak for when I say this is our favorite meeting of the year. We're sorry you had to wait, but the good news is there's cake for you. And while you're getting cake, the board is going to go over here and have our group picture taken. In fact, if we can, we'll ask all the kids to come over for a second. It'd be nice to get a group photo of that. And then you have the cake. So thank you.